see if that'll. I'm live. I'm trying to see a better way that'll. It's kind of a neat little light thing, but I'm just trying to get that a little bit, better. Let's see. Got that. Maybe if I move this a little, just a smidgen like that. Yeah, it's cold. Okay. Anyway, it's Alan here. Again, for people who don't either know or haven't heard of targeted individuals, it's really the same thing. What has happened is like, well, let me just deal with the question at first. How do you know that with the TI program and what me personally have gone through, was just something psychosomatic, normal, just natural event that, why do you go to the extreme? And it's an extreme, how do you know it? How do you know? And I do know it now. I mean, when literally you go your entire life from 14 on, from 15, 16, it starts getting progressively worse and electronic. Just, you don't need to know it's electronic. You just know you're in a painful thing on your side that goes from sharp little zaps, like Havana syndrome. That goes from that to being this, it affects a chronic feeling that you can't, like a dead necrotic tissue, what it feels like, to where you can't feel much emotion. Somebody can try to shock you, jump out somewhere, and it doesn't do much as far as up or down. Sometimes it can, once in a while. And it's not that you're trying to be stoic, or it's certainly not. I think it's stoic might seem cool, but this isn't an attempt at anything. It's not something of your will. It's just, they literally neutralize and try to make the constant current of electrical low. I don't know if it's hertz or watts or, like Tesla talk, but it's this low wattage or low hertz continual. And because it's always on, you just know for all those years that it's painful and that you can't feel much emotion there. And now for years, I just thought, well, maybe it was psychosomatic. Maybe I was very religious and studied all these books, and it created questions and doubts, and that was stressful. So I thought but the thing is, that other people have gone through the same stuff and worse and harder things. So you're like not knowing why it's that way. So you look it up on the internet, people get stressed or have psychosomatic pains that are psychosomatic in its origin. But it wasn't until a few times, even before I found out about Havana syndrome, that out of the blue, and of course you're always like praying that it would be healed or meditating, trying to relax it. Sometimes with little types of degrees of praying and meditation, sometimes it can help by, thinking it's positive. But the truth of the matter is, there's been times where I'm just working. I was just working, folding laundry in a nursing home, or just doing nothing, like making a sandwich in my kitchen and not thinking, and then suddenly it stops. I don't mean stops like I just mean the pain signal, it stops and it feels normal, and it's like a muscle just relaxes and it feels wonderful, and instantly, it's not like minutes later it starts. I mean, instantly, like somebody just flipped a switch, instantly feels better. And there's your emotions flood right back like normal, and it feels wonderful, because when you're not used to feeling that type of normal, you just know it's always this kind of a pain. It's like if you always have, like if it was a headache and you're always not a migraine, but always on a 2 or 3 to 10, and you're not able to think clearly, and it causes constant kind of pain. But it's not for me a headache. It's a side, right? Like they literally put an electronic directed energy weapon. There's a government caucus made up of senators and things like that, and it's just a government experimental, like Havana syndrome. It's putting electronic devices that sends an electronic current to see if it can block your emotions and to see the effects on the heart, your personality, your brain, and then they check the vital signs and through telemetry and biometrics. And in my case, I mean, there's a few times where they turned it off, and I just thought it was an answer to prayer because I'd always be praying that God would, heal it or tell me what it was, or just literally every day. And it was for 30 years. I have doctors that actually were kind enough to send me to specialists and give me pain meds. And that's not nothing. That's when you're in pain and you don't know what is causing it, you just know it's right there. You're just thankful that somebody at least took some of the pain away. And you don't know what caused it. And you're trying to go to specialists and nobody's telling you. The last thing on your mind is, oh, well, they're bad people and they're going to offer you up to government experimentation. I mean, especially from a conservative religious town like I was from, you wouldn't think that. It's like these are drain the swamp, chanting drain the swamp at the time when they're really heavy, and then started with the V2K 2015. Most people haven't heard about it, or they don't think the government would do something like that. And of course, now we've came through gain of function with COVID, being told, don't do it. It's too risky. It's horrible if it goes bad. They did it anyway, and yet nobody went to prison for it. They made money off the vaccine, in fact. So it's almost like they literally planned all these events, made the vaccine even before the pandemic broke out in China. The vaccine was already ready, but they didn't bring it out to the public until, a year later or something? I don't know. But to see if they can do it. They're super rich, literally going along with this plan. And I was never an anti-government. I knew there was bad people in government. But yeah, hopefully anyway, I was talking about my side pain. It wasn't until a few times where it just stopped the current, or I didn't know what it was at the time. I just know suddenly the pain stopped and I felt wonderful. It flooded back like a muscle relaxing, and then the emotions that follow and it feels wonderful. And I was just thankful. You're just thankful, and you're like, thank you, God, thank you and it just feels wonderful. You don't know what it was, you just know you feel better and you're thankful. And then a few hours later, it comes just right back. And it wasn't until, 30 years of this, and then I was still alive, because then you find out through the program, they're trying to get you to kill yourself. This is a religious town, literally getting money, trying to get you to off yourself. And if they do, but the thing is, it's so out in the open with Havana syndrome, directed energy weapons, and now with Neuralink, because the stuff that we go through as TIs, if you have synthetic telepathy, which, I mean, this stuff is out in the open now. It's Elon Musk has a wonderful technology that helps people that are handicapped, that they can communicate, kind of like Stephen Hawking's did with his computer. It can brain map, read his mind, the brain waves, and in real time communicate a sentence on his monitor. And it's the same thing that when you have V2K, that we don't have a monitor but it's just reading, and they can read it from their monitor. Remote neural monitoring, RNM is what they call it. And they can, the operators, the handlers, can read it and then speak it back to you through a little microphone that they implant. Yes, that crazy talk is real. They really do it. And I'm not saying full-fledged to everybody, but to a few people, they do it just to see if they can do it and get away with it, and to see if they can pay off police, and even in small towns, to go along with it. And so when they talk about corruption, it's not just a Washington, D.C. thing. It's even in your small towns. They're not thinking about the rightness or wrongness of it and all that drain the swamp talk. They just, federal money. And I can hear them anyway. So what happens is, I'm putting this out there because in case somebody else is going through this, that's how I figured out that it turned off, felt wonderful, and then within a few hours came right back. And then I went to the Ella Free Rally. I have a video of it on my YouTube. I have the Targeted Individuals, Havana Syndrome YouTube site, and then my Alan Brewer Nielsen YouTube. And it's got a bunch of videos that deal with TIs. And so I'd always pray, God, just, show me and tell me what it is. You just think it's an accident or something, but you don't think you're part of some government. I had no enemies. And the people in my town, Dallas, were pretty nice to me. I just knew constantly that I was in pain. And I thought they were trying their best to heal it or fix it. I never would have really thought seriously that they would do this or go along with this a government program just for torturing a 14-year-old, not 18, not 21, a 14-year-old, just to see if the people in the town will go along with a torture program. And to the shame and surprise of everybody, they did and are still doing it. And when you go to the doctors and all that, and the covering up of such an overt and obvious, the actual covering up of such an event, it makes you look at the people differently. And the thing is, I was so thankful, and I still am, because I know that there's a lot of federal people that are pretending to be part of the program. But I'm still thankful, at least, that they're keeping it in the public eye, and that I can still relate to them. Because for the TIs that are real, we all know that they sometimes will infiltrate calls, chats. We all know it. And try to screw up the calls and chats. And we don't know or how many ratios. But even if there's a few that are real, it's the other ones that aren't. We know we can at least talk to them about what we're going through in the technology. And sometimes they will even drop breadcrumbs of things that will help. Technologies that'll help. Nick Baggage has got some books that help us understand this technology and things that might work. There's shielding, different types of, whether it's copper shielding, but in a lot of this stuff has to do with implantables technology. A lot of this stuff in TI chats have to do with conservative religion too, conservative Christianity, which they did this to me when I was 14, and I was studying to be an evangelical pastor. So why they did this to me, I was already studying to be a Pentecostal pastor. Went to Ellendale, North Dakota when I was 17, 18. They still did. I had no enemies. Really ever. Before that time, at that time, or after. I was nice to people. And in fairness, I thought they were pretty nice to me too. It's not like I had to bend over backwards to be nice. I thought they were nice to me too, the people in Dallas. City Hall, I was so thankful for my doctors. I was just very I thought they were, even if they made mistakes or had bad days, I could forgive them, because I thought they were trying. I thought they were pretty good people that were trying. It wasn't until after 30 years and me almost ending it, literally, and then coming back, waking up in the hospital and realizing, having to learn to walk again, and then all this stuff on the internet and on the news about Havana syndrome. every night for 5 years, 7 years. It was on it just 8 months ago on 60 Minutes about them saying they found a Russian link on 60 Minutes that it could be Russia again. And it's really our own government. Russia does have this technology. China does. It's microwave hearing, and they'll try to mix Tesla technology with it. Now, one of the great creators of this was Robert Duncan. He has a book, Project Soul Catcher and How to Tame a Demon. The science of it is way beyond me, so I can't tell. He helped create this technology, but then he felt remorse because they're saying that the creators of this technology are so compartmentalized that they don't know. They put their parts together, not knowing what the whole once all these parts and compartments are working on their individual scientific parts. Once all their parts are put together, it makes this monstrous machine of brain-computer interface, Neuralink. I mean, it has different terms for it: Havana syndrome, targeted individuals, but they have all these different steps in the media to accumulate or get people used to hearing little parts being dropped like breadcrumbs. Havana syndrome. And then that coincided with targeted individuals. It's the same technology. Dues being hit, people get, the microwave hit, whether it's 5G or cell towers. In my case, I mean, there's that too. Remote neural monitoring. It's literally just people in probably a fusion center, FBI and local police and contractors. And they're just pushing buttons and literally like a little thing in your brain, like a brain chip, where they have even voice to skull, where it's just a little microphone where they can, say something over there, and then you can hear it, but a person standing next to you can't. Like bone conduction, you can hear it, something very, and I don't know if it's so subliminal, but it's just, you can hear it, and it bypasses your cochlea and all that, normal ear hearing. And there are some people who say you can actually capture the V2K on a tape recorder of some type, if you know how to manipulate different audio settings and bass and this and that. And that might be true. I don't know. But some people aim these audios and they have ways to manipulate audio settings to find it. And that's the big thing in TI world of how to find the ways to find the evidence. How do you find the radiation factor? What tests can you take? Can you take a P test or a blood test for the radiation to find heavy metals that normally wouldn't be in your blood system? That part of thing. What types of things? Well, the thing is, we know that the patents already exist. I mean, anywhere you can just look, and the patents in the TI community are right there. So, and they just simply admit that DEWs are used during the whole Havana syndrome. People on Fox and CNN were saying, no, this technology does exist. We have them, not just Russia. We use them on people. But a lot of times they don't promote or tell people that they experiment on people non-consensually, without their knowledge, without their okay, without their permission. Like me. When I was 14, I broke my arm after playing football at practice. At Dallas High School, broke my arm first time and that I broke anything. Went to the hospital like the next day and they fixed it. And then within a few months to a year, I started getting these zaps. And you just try to tough through. You don't know what it is. And then after a couple, then you go to a doctor again and they don't have. The last thing on your mind is thinking that the government is experimenting on you. You don't have any enemies. You have nobody that's going to set you up. Nobody that's going to try to, you haven't hurt anybody literally ever. So why would somebody go out of their way to be so mean to you, cruel, evil? And then you realize, I mean, They literally can look at your whole EEG on the monitor, your brain activity and your memories. And as a person who I was a very good, kind, I didn't volunteer my time either. I wasn't that good because I was always also in pain. But my doctors gave me pain meds, and that helped a lot. And I was able to work, spent 8 years working 2 full-time jobs. I had Monday off, but Tuesday through Friday at one nursing home, and then Saturday and Sunday doubles, and then I had Monday off for 8 years. And then one place shut down, so I stuck with one job full-time until I fell out the window because of this program in Dallas, and had to learn to walk again. And I started walking, and then, started getting back to work. But then something with the clinic, and so that one I got fired for because I missed the clinic for medication, and had to go there. And anyway, that was a little bit on my fault. It just was. But then you find out the whole reason you're in pain in the first place, why you need pain meds, all of it comes out, and then it's on the news every night. And it's like your government and the people in your own town set you up hoping that you'd be tortured every day of your life. I don't mean torture like a huge migraine. I mean constant pain on your side. And like a 3 out of 10, 3, maybe even a 4 out of 10. But it takes away your emotions where you can't feel much. But I would say 90% after 36, 38 years of constantly having them do that to make it almost feel necrotic, you still have about 5 or 10% that you can still feel, some emotion, and that's the thing is they can turn it off. I've had this happen like 11 or 12 times now, not just 3 or 4. And that's what made me realize this is electronic. This is an actual device. And with V2K and synthetic telepathy, and that's even what Elon Musk calls it, telepathy. V2K is them reading your EEG, monitoring in real time what it is you're thinking. Even a memory or your imagination is thinking something about the Jetsons cartoon and something, maybe George Jetson's getting a haircut, and you're keeping it to yourself. You're not even talking about it. You can hear them, the V2K people, talking, oh yeah, is that a real commercial or cartoon? Is that a real? Did George Jetson ever did Rosie the robot give him a haircut? They're literally talking about what you're privately thinking about. And people don't believe that technology is that far advanced, or that it's in real time without delay, that they can literally talk about it. And I'm saying, yeah, they really can. And no, I don't know about going to a doctor, and because if half the times they're just paid off to not talk about it. Now, I hate to say it this way. Before Elon Musk and before it became known as telepathy, this is what the crazy people would talk about. But now that it's on the news, on TV, and the realization that they will take a good technology and try to weaponize it, our military, the D.O.D., D.O.J., they'll try to find if they can find a way to torture people or kill people with it. I think if they did ever have a cure for cancer, they would probably use some of it, but they'd try to take that and try to make that into a torture device too, because so much of our money goes instantly to the DOD and to the military. It's not that I want them out of a job. It's just there's over 800 military bases around the world. It is such domination. And all this trying to get more money and giving that money to Ukraine for their weapons in their war, when there's North Carolina people that actually worked their life and those tax dollars, and they're not getting their own FEMA money, or people like me who have worked and haven't hurt anybody. Literally, they can look at my memories, my EEG, and there's nothing to hang their hat on and blackmail me. There's nothing where I've hurt somebody, even in my memories. I've made mistakes, but nothing that really hurt anybody. I think I got drunk one time and vomited on somebody's kitchen. And that was embarrassing, but it didn't, it wasn't horrible. It was horrible. It was embarrassing for me, but that wasn't, there's nothing to blackmail me where I knowingly, intentionally did anything to hurt anybody. So there's that. If there was, I'm a sensitive person with a conscience to the point of scrupulosity, religious OCD. If I would have felt the guilt, and I would have instantly tried to make it right. But realizing the people of my town never cared about right and wrong, ever. Even though I know it, and they know I know it, there wasn't one person that said, we know what we did to you and are still doing to you is evil. And it shouldn't be done to anybody. And so all that drain the swamp talk. And I told the cop this when I made my second or my third complaint. And he was decent on the phone. He actually let me talk for about a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But I go, well, Dallas gets money for this? Really? To torture people? And I was like, so much for drain the swamp, right? Getting money to take a 14-year-old on their worst day ever, breaking an arm. And let's make it worse. Let's fix the arm, but then put a torture device in their side to where when they have feelings or it'll so slowly degrade them. A soft kill is what they call it in DEW talk, D.E.W, directed energy weapons talk. It's a soft kill, slow kill. And hopefully the person dies before they find out what it is. Because then it becomes a nightmare, because then there's no cover for them. There's no moral cover that says, see, we're secretly good religious people. We are still really good religious people. We're conservatives. We're compassionate conservatives. Or for the liberals, for that matter, people that used to be proud of, wearing their hearts on the sleeves, bleeding heart liberals, and how much of it, all of this stuff, is sacrificed once there's a sack of cash. Now, the thing is, don't stereotype, because there are lots of good people who would not be a part of this. There are some good people out there that wouldn't, even if they never got found out, even if they just wouldn't. I'm convinced there are good people that wouldn't. It's like the Old Testament story of, is there 100 good people? God's going to destroy a town unless the prophet can find 100 good people. He can't find 100. Is there 70? He keeps having to talk it down to 50, to 40. Is there 30 good people that it will admit and be honest and try to repent of it? Say, let's not do this anymore. This is wrong. Okay, is there 35? Is there 30, 20? That literally means drain the swamp, even if it means they have to admit it and they have to give up their money. Or I'm not even trying to get their money back. I'm not even trying to. I gave them a note saying I don't want to sue anybody. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I just want it taken out and turned off so I can live a normal life. And still no takers. After saying I don't want to sue anybody to get money, but I think this needs to stop. If it means suing people to get them to stop it from doing this to me and other people, yes, it should stop. Obviously, it shouldn't. People shouldn't be experimented on. Everybody knows. I think the Brennan Center for Justice just did a thing a couple of years ago against the abuses in fusion centers. And Brennan, I believe he was a CIA director. And he comes out with this, the Brennan Center for Justice, a thing against the abuses of fusion centers, the FBI and local police. And to know that this is still going on, pretending like, okay, well, we need to be watchdogs for this. And I know all of them will say, well, deniability. but they know this technology, and the idea of them making this technology and knowing that it goes against every fabric of 4 or 5 parts of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, the 13th Amendment. Search and seizure, searching your mind and memories for, illegal search and seizure. The Fifth Amendment, being a witness against yourself. If they can find somebody who might be guilty of something, look into their memories, their EEG, their private neural data, their brain data for a memory. The Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment or torture. The 13th Amendment, slavery. Because your mental, they can slave you and just give you a little push of the button and suddenly a shock or something like that. Just a torture device, taking your emotions away from you, even if you haven't hurt anybody. That they will go directly and spend millions and millions and years and decades on something that violates every aspect of the Constitution. This is your tax dollars and mine. Say we've got some really bad people, smart people, but whose hearts are constantly in the wrong place. They're not sincere people about going after terrorists. That's the excuse they will use constantly. But they go after regular people and then swoop in at the end when they get a person so jacked up against somebody else or another group, like January 6th, and get the feds involved in getting regular people to storm a Capitol that they normally wouldn't storm, or to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, people that normally wouldn't, or to do the 1993 bombing of the Trade Center. That was a guy named Salem, and he was videotaped. He had a videotape of the FBI, helping to make the bomb. But they told Salem that they weren't going to. They weren't going to blow it up. But yet, he made a video of it. So what do you say? They're going to put this way in the back of it. And I still live in fear, but I also know they can watch everything. I want this stopped. I don't want, people believe in justice, and I want that too, but I don't have a wish to ruin somebody. I don't want it to happen to them either. I don't like torture. I don't like it on me because I experienced it, but I didn't know it was intentional all these years. I just thought something they couldn't fix. My doctors tried, but then I found out, no, this is a real program. And it could have been that if they did try to tell me, that they might have lost their license or something because it's going against the government. I don't know all the details. I know John Hopkins has a program that by former CIA people, and it might be a recruiting ground for the CIA. It's like if you want to become a doctor, and the CIA or the government steps in to give you a bunch of cash to help with the loans, but then suddenly they're right there. Okay, you scratch our back and I'll scratch your back type thing. And it's like, I'll give you a bunch of money to get through school at Johns Hopkins. They have a class about the CIA with brilliant people and speakers. But if they can help take away some of the pressures of financial, and then you just have to do a few little operations for them. I'm not trying to sour. I just know the CIA and the FBI does a lot of recruitment at some of these Ivy League brilliant schools. And it's easy to see how it can happen, where they recruit smart, ambitious people and to get a few favors in the future. And have been doing this for a long time, whether it's McGill University in Canada with MK Ultra. That was by Cameron. I forget. Anyway, he was the head of the United States Psychological Association, the head of it. So he was that ambitious. And to get that ambitious, he had to do a lot of dirty things. MK Ultra was one. And so when I hear of somebody reaching the top of the pedestal, and they seem like nice people on TV, it does make you wonder, you know, it does make you wonder what's in the background. You don't want to stereotype people. There are some genuinely good people out there that wouldn't do it. But when you're part of a program like this, how much their moral character, when they think nobody's looking, is just when there's a sack of cash right there. They're willing to, well, it's not me. It's some complete stranger right down there. And I won't ever have to listen to that person. And, and they're willing to do all sorts of, because for the reason that it's not them. It's not their family member. It's somebody else's family member that lives 8 blocks away and has to suffer for 30 years and nobody tells them. That's why they're in pain. Not until 30 years and then having to learn to walk again because of this treatment and program. And now it's a big shame. It's an MK Ultra thing that tarnishes the entire town of what they will do. And when the person complains and says, "Take me off it," oh well, it's a federal problem. Can you imagine being kidnapped, raped, tortured, escaping, hoping to find an adult, a government person, a sheriff, a police person, hoping and being so thankful to find them, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. And yes, thank you for saving me." It's like, well, it's a federal. He's allowed to rape and torture you. So I can't help you because he works for the federal government. So it's okay to rape and torture you and do anything. In fact, I'm just going to let you go. I'm going to drive you back to that person because you might as well. And then later that night, they're going to go to a meeting of draining the swamp. They're going to start chanting. They're going to drain that swamp. I voted for Trump, so because I saw what the Democrats did to Bernie Sanders. And they're going to keep doing it because they don't like us. They don't respect us as regular people. It's ambition, blind ambition. And I don't know how many of those people really have Havana syndrome. I'm just glad that they were kind enough to put it out there on the television. And I am thankful for that. Very thankful. So that shows me they do have some heart. Some. Because they kept it on the air for 5-7 years. And I am forever thankful. Even the ones that aren't real TIs, the fact that they would put chats and allow this to be part of the discussion and keep it in the, awareness, I'm thankful for. I mean, you just wish, I'm just thankful that there are some groups out there that I believe have a lot of good people in, like Targeted Justice is wonderful, PAX International. There's a lot of groups out there that they know that they'll be, whether in chats or whatever, they'll be infiltrated by what are called perps. But we can't allow, there's a phrase where good is the enemy of the perfect, or perfect is the enemy of the good. Just because it's not going to be 100%, that doesn't mean that you can't get something genuinely good, because there might be one or two bad ones in the bunch doesn't ruin the whole thing. There's a lot of good stuff. Meeting other people, relating to other people, and relating, hey, I got this electrical current that is constantly, and 12 times they've turned it off, but there's still radiation that they can detect that shows, even if they turn it off right before a test, there'll still be residual radiation. There'll still be high metal toxicity. There'll still be, things that will validate the existence of these weapons that they put inside the bodies of people. And as for, religious faith can help a lot of people. That does, because I studied for a ministry myself. But it's like, I kind of like Carpocrates. He was one of the first, and he was saying that you need to, climb out of yourself and not just make everything about repression and dying to yourself and picking up your cross and all this, because literally I thought dying to yourself, your personality, all these years of trying to Sermon on the Mount your life, dying to yourself, I thought, well, maybe that's what did it, because I knew that was, a huge part of my mentality was trying to be obedient in it, memorizing the Sermon on the Mount. But I thought, well, other people have done that and done it even more harsher towards themselves, been more, forgive the term, but masochistic, being so unselfish that they literally have chosen to be homeless and give money to, but they don't have the side pain. They don't have that, or people have had so much doubt about their beliefs, and that creates side pain. But even those people haven't had this, and then it's real. You realize, no, this is actually, they turn it off those 12 times, and then they turn it on a few hours later, and then you find out through the news and TV, oh, this is happening with other people, and our government agents are saying it's called a directed energy weapons, and it started in 1993 at Johns Hopkins. They had a conference and using miscellaneous people to use as guinea pigs. So much for the Constitution. Anyway, I'm not trying to so much shame people as I want them to get them to turn it off and stop doing this to people. If they do it to people, let those people have informed consent, really informed consent, and pay them. And if they want to get out of it, let them get out of it. Don't think so poorly of your next door neighbor 8 miles away, or the next door neighbor or 8 miles away person, just because they're not you and your family member, that you view them just as an object to be used. They're supposed to have these rights that you want so much dearly for yourself and your family. They're supposed to have those rights too. And when they go to law enforcement saying this is being done, they should get help. Not, well, it's not us, it's federal. So anyway, I appreciate that guy for at least listening to me and telling me. That's the first time somebody told me the truth, even though I already knew the truth was it was federal. But the federal money also goes down to the local, and they go along with it too, and they get money for it too. So, and don't worry about moral perfection, because when I have thought that, but I remember when Jesus would tell people about giving all your money to the poor, and the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 10, and but then I remember I'd forgotten all about it. But it's like, it's almost comical, and I don't say this as an atheist person trying to beat up on the Bible. I'm not that. But I remember when giving the money or the perfume, the lady cleaning his feet with her hair and drying it using expensive perfumes. And people's scrupulosity and OCD when it comes to religion are easier, more hardwired to feel guilt than anger. It's like they'll take an anger and put it towards themselves, like can find guilt, apply guilt to themselves, and rather than find anger in somebody else, because of the OCD. And I remember where that story of the disciples telling Jesus, oh, that perfume, if you look at commentaries, they'll say that perfume she used was probably close to a year's salary, a whole year's salary and the disciples were like, hey, maybe we should take that money and sell it to the poor, just get that money. We can help poor people. And Jesus, if he had scrupulosity or all this moral, like what we would go through, would be like, yeah, he's reminding what we told others to do. It's like, hey, the poor people you'll always have with you. It's almost like he became a politician. Anyway, he didn't beat himself up with guilt and be reminded what he told other people. So it's almost like when the Mormons or Muslims say, parts of the scriptures were corrupted. I almost kind of think that that part was corrupted because he was reminded what he told people, and then just to have it written down, it's almost like the Catholics or the Protestants wanted to make an excuse for their luxury, rich billionaire living, that they created a story to validate their wealth. And so they made up a story to validate their luxury living, the billionaire status, the power. So anyway, I go off on a little tangent. So I'm going to make some coffee for myself and my mom. So bye, Fusion Center. I'm sure they'll be there all day. So, and anyway, I hope I can stop it so that this program won't happen to them either or their family. I'll talk to you later.